In the quiet town of Roaring Gap, nestled deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, there lived a skeptical man named Mark. He knew of the warnings etched in Native American folklore, yet Mark's curiosity got the better of him. Whistling at night was said to summon the malevolent spirits lurking in the darkness, but he scoffed at superstitions. It was a moonless night. As the wind whispered through the ancient pines, Mark stood on his porch. He pursed his lips and unleashed a tune, his whistle echoing through the stillness. A chilling silence followed, broken only by a distant hoot of an owl. Unbeknownst to Mark, shadows began to stir around him. Dark figures slithered from the depths of the forest, their eyes gleaming with malice. The air thickened with a sinister presence, suffocating Mark's bravado. Suddenly the world blurred before his eyes. He stumbled backwards, his heart pounding like a trapped animal. As the shadows enveloped him, his screams were swallowed by the black void. His body dissolved into the night, leaving no trace behind. Years passed, and the tale of Mark's disappearance became a cautionary legend. Whispers of his fate echoed through the town, serving as a chilling reminder of the power that many myths have over our world. Many years later, a young boy stood on the same porch where Mark had once defied the spirits. As he pursed his lips to whistle, he caught a glimpse of the horror that had claimed Mark's soul. A realm of darkness where malevolent eyes burned with insatiable hunger. In that brief moment, the boy's skepticism shattered like glass. He stepped back, leaving the whistle unblown, and forever carrying the weight of a narrow escape. The spirits of Roaring Gap had claimed one soul, but they would not claim another.
You are now entering the realm of the freaky deaky, an unsuspecting stop at the crossroads of fantasy and reality, where the frayed edges of make-believe seep into this cookie-cutter white picket world you've been led to believe is far from extraordinary. What you're about to hear are true stories.
Alleged true stories.
Christian, just... okay? Tales of the strange and inexplicable thought only to exist in film and folklore. Although difficult to accept, we do not know everything about this reality. About time or space, what lies beneath the ocean's depths. And try though we might, the unchanging truth remains. There are some things we legitimately cannot explain logically.
Damn it, Scott, you're right.
A supreme being.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I don't know if you're ready for... I literally have an entire sound bank, right, of just different ways you've said the word bean. And I got it from like the last 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson.
Literally, the last couple episodes I'm editing, and every 2 minutes you said something with beans in it. And I'm like, wow, I am just getting so much great SoundPad content.
I need to set up my computer to where every time I type that in, when I'm writing an episode.
It's just the entity.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's actually a brilliant idea. Anyway.
I don't know why I do that.
Welcome back to the Freaky Deaky. We are flipping things around this week. We're switching it up a little bit. You may notice we may sound a little livelier as we are recording this at 8:38 p.m. on a Friday night, because in 4 subtle small hours, I will be picking my father up from the airport, mainly because my family doesn't know how to show up in Alaska and it not be 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. Isn't that fantastic?
Who does, though?
Everyone else, from what I gather. But my family's like, you have a 1-year-old that doesn't sleep through the night, right? Yeah. How about I show up at midnight? Do you want to get even less sleep? Come on down.
Maybe they're just trying to take the flight that spends the least amount of time.
They are,
in the air.
They are, and that's fine. Guys, look, I get it. But at the same time, your boy needs slumber. You know what I mean?
I just look at it this way. It wasn't happening anyway.
The only upside is the traffic is next to nothing.
Yeah, it is.
But the downside is we are now in summer, which means nights are for highway construction. And I've been trapped on the Glen Highway for like 3 hours once due to construction, and I was not happy.
I can imagine.
And I will not be happy if that happens again.
They probably have something called the internet where you can check that stuff too.
And if it is like pretty heavy, you'll just be like, hey, Dad, never mind. I'll pick you up tomorrow. Good luck.
Get one of those expensive hotel rooms for the night.
There you go. It's on you.
Yeah.
That's not what you're here to listen to. I'm just saying we're recording at night for the first time in probably 2.5 years, right?
I think so.
So Christian's going to be a little livelier. I might be a little livelier, even though I'm a sleepy boy and I'm usually in bed right about this time, actually, 8:40. But anyway, yeah, we're not discussing that anymore. If you're new to the show, welcome to your new favorite Spooky Ghost podcast. If you do not follow us on social media, now would be a great time to start. We are at Freaky Deaky Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, where you are to like and subscribe. So if I don't say it, Christian will.
I will.
And at TFT Paranormal on TikTok. So follow us there. If you have a story of your own, send it to the gang at thefreakydeaky.com or share it on a comment or something on YouTube or hell, slide on into the DMs, you pervert. We're ready for you.
Are we, though?
I think so. And I think I got everything out of the way. So on to whatever it is you're going to be talking about.
We're going to be talking about never whistling at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've heard that. I'm sure some of our listeners have.
I have actually never heard that.
Really?
I am a token white boy, a suburban white boy, and I do not know much about weird culture. Weird was a strange choice for that. I don't mean weird.
It can't be that weird because this little warning about not whistling at night comes from different cultures from all over the world, and some of them shouldn't know this because for a long time they didn't have contact with the other cultures.
Jodie Foster? Oh,
not that contact.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, it's been available on DVD for quite some time.
Great movie, by the way. But yeah, you get many cultures all over the world, which I'll go into before we get into some stories. About their beliefs in never whistling at night. And it's a funny thing. The reason I think it grabbed my attention a little bit is because when I was young, the older people back then really did not like whistling.
But that's because they were like all curmudgeon-y, right? Like,
well, now maybe
shut up.
They were brought up on some of these stories and myths from the past, and maybe they didn't know where it came from, but a lot of them had it. And it was like, you were a bad kid if you were whistling at night back in the day.
Yeah.
So, and as a kid, you're like, that's just something the old people say, or whatever, that makes no sense.
So this will likely catch me off guard because the only thing that kind of correlates to this a little bit was the summer break episode we did. I believe it might have been last year. It might have been season 1 summer break. I can't remember. I don't know things anymore, but we did an episode on the Whistler, and that was that creepy Reddit story that was, pretty popular that talked about that weird guy whistling a tune and the boy hearing it from his childhood and remembering it, being freaked out, and the accompanying video even better.
Right.
So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see there's actually some lore behind this type of behavior.
And
maybe it'd explain why the guy was so freaked out.
It could.
Or it could explain why things are whistling because they're creepy.
Yeah. Just don't whistle back.
Oh God.
Oh, it's night.
It's night. That's not cool.
Well, I'll start off with some cultural beliefs about whistling.
Do that.
Also the name of this chapter. Cultural beliefs and whistling. We're going to start off in Mexico.
I hope so.
Mexicans believe that to whistle at night is to invite the La Lechuza.
Also an episode from season 2.
Yeah.
Episode 16.
And in case you missed it, it's a witch that can transform into an owl to swoop down and snatch up the whistler and carry him or her away.
Yep. I do recall that.
Yeah. Another one, we're going to come up to the northern areas where we live. And there's an Inuit legend, and this is mainly in Canada, but it spreads throughout Alaska as well. It mentions that one who whistles at the northern lights risks calling spirits down from the aurora. According to First Nations tradition, whistling also attracts the Stick Indians.
Wow, Christian, pretty racist.
Yeah. The frightening wild men of the interior and the coast Salish tradition. We'll have a couple stories about that particular belief later in the show.
Interesting.
Arabs maintain that if you whistle in the night, you run the risk of luring jinns.
Yep. How I just guessed it.
And even the dreaded shaitan.
Satan?
Yeah, that's it's a different form of Satan.
It's like
but
Muslims.
It's
Satan.
It's similar to
Interesting.
Christian Satan. The Han Chinese believe that whistling at night invites ghosts into the home. But also there's some skillful Chinese yoga practitioners that believe they can summon supernatural beings, supernatural entities.
Oh, God. That's one I don't have. It's like my bean bingo.
Yeah.
I don't have supernatural.
Supernatural entities with wild animals and weather phenomenon with the In the Japanese, doing this at night attracts snakes, thieves, or demons called tengu.
Man, that escalated very quickly.
Yeah.
I was like, first snakes, you're like, oh, that's kind of weird, but maybe. And then thieves, you're like, oh, uh-oh. And then demons right out the gate.
Yep. Trifecta.
Oh, yeah.
Go over to Korea, and it also summons ghosts and snakes. Didn't say anything about demons, though.
Do they have snakes in Korea? I guess everywhere probably has snakes, right? That's weird. I don't.
Not cold places typically, but
Yeah.
everywhere else, yeah.
Interesting. Might cut that. That's a really fucking stupid question. Do they have snakes in different places than the high desert where I was born?
We need to let you travel a little more.
No, I've seen enough.
The Siamese of central Thailand,
Do they have snakes?
I believe they do. They hold that whistling at night calls evil spirits and brings bad luck. Now we're going to go on vacation like the Brady Bunch to Hawaii.
Hope you're not going to take anything back with you.
I won't. Native Hawaiians believe that whistling at night invokes the hukai pu,
Well, excuse me.
or night marchers.
Gotcha.
I'm moving on.
Oh, Hawaii?
Yeah, Hawaii.
Yeah, I've heard of the Night Watchers. There's actually
night marchers. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a video of the Night Marchers that was, I forget what podcast it was on, but there was some paranormal podcast where the guest was talking about running a marathon or something like that. And they're filming the thing on their phone. And as they're running past this specific bush, like you see this weird thing happening. And it's definitely a person.
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah. So
They're the ghost of the ancient Hawaiian warriors. In another version of the legend, nocturnal whistling summons the Menehune, forest-dwelling dwarves.
that's not good.
Then we're going to go to Samoa and Tonga. They believe when you whistle at night, you're visited by unwanted spirits. Off to Australia, the Noongar people, and they're in southwestern Australia. They maintain that those who whistle at night attract the attention of the Wara Wirin, or bad spirits. Probably a few mispronunciations this
Right to
this
the point
episode.
with them.
Yeah.
What happens? Yeah, bad spirits.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
gotcha. Cool.
The Maori of New Zealand say if you do it after midnight, the Kehoa, ghost and spirits, will whistle back. Never a good thing.
Yeah, it's not as terrifying as demons or whatever. Just a ghost whistling at you. You're like, hey, thanks.
That's how it starts, though.
Confidence boost.
Yeah, totally how it starts. Russian and Slavic cultures, they believe that whistling indoors will bring poverty. And there is a Russian proverb saying, whistling money away.
You're whistling money away.
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, I whistle all the time when I'm home alone, and I feel like I'm living in poverty. So I guess
Well, I guess in most cases,
we're close to Russia.
yeah, whistling indoors. Can't see it though. Whistling indoors is normally okay, but not
At night.
Not is okay at night. Yeah, but not according to the Russians. They believe indoors or outdoors. If it's at night, you're wrong. And in Estonia, not too far from Russia, if you whistle indoors, you bring bad luck and therefore set your house on fire. So
At least you'll see it coming.
yeah, a lot of different cultures, right? So far.
Yeah, I would not have expected that many.
Yeah, I have one more culture. Tribes in Native America believe in some sort of shapeshifter.
Shapeshifter?
Yeah, shapeshifter.
Gotcha.
And you know what it's called, right?
Oh, the skinwalker.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess I do. Yeah, whistling.
And another similar shapeshifter is the Stikini, which I haven't heard of.
The Stikeni?
Yeah, but it's another group of Native Americans. If something whistles back at you, it is usually believed to be any of the two creatures watching you. When this happens, you better run away. And then apart from cultures, certain professions have the same superstition. Whistling backstage in a theater is considered a jinx. Actors believe that if someone whistles backstage, bad things are on the horizon, not only for them, but for the entire company.
If someone, I mean, at some point you got to be like, maybe it's a stretch, you know?
Well,
maybe we're taking this a little too far.
Theater is very superstitious.
For theater.
Like you can't
very dramatic.
You can't say have a good performance. You have to say break a leg or something like that.
You can't say break a leg. You have to say have a good performance, Christian.
No, that's not how it goes, man.
If you say break a leg, they're going to break their leg, and that's not cool.
No, in the theater it works just the opposite. It's magic.
Oh, wow.
Or devil worship, according to some people.
I'd say it's
a magical being. Yep. I love that story when I was a kid.
The magical bean.
Sailors also ban whistling on board, believing that the whistler draws bad luck to the entire crew and ship. There's an old ghost story by M.R. James.
Mr. James?
Yes. M.R. James, you get it right. You get it? Get it?
I think I get it.
Okay.
I think I can grasp that. Yeah.
The story's called, Oh, Whistle, and I'll Come to You, My Lad. So you can
Not
tell.
super scary. Not a great, horrifying,
I mean,
fear-inducing.
maybe back when it was written, sounds almost like a Victorian type of, or
anything with my lad at the end of it. You're not going to be like, oh, jinkies.
Yeah.
Heavens to Betsky.
And
Betsky.
I found another old saying, sing at the table, whistle in the bed, the boogeyman will grab you by your hair on your head.
They should have just said head. The rhyme doesn't really flow with hair on your.
It's an old saying.
I know. Okay, say it in Old English and make it sound like it rhymes perfectly.
I can't really speak
Exactly.
speak old English.
See, it doesn't work, man. Listen to your boy.
Yeah.
I got the answers.
So now you understand this little belief or myth comes from all over the world. What do you think could cause that?
It being rooted somewhere. True origins of whistling at night leading to very bad things.
Then that's the theory. Some people like me would have more of a skeptical predator, natural predator.
To catch a predator, yeah.
Yeah. Like type of thing where something you whistle and something knows where you're at and the tiger jumps out of the bushes and gets you, or in certain cases, snakes, obviously.
Lots of snakes.
Yes. So
Snakes.
but it's just fascinating that you get it in the Native Americans who weren't exposed to Europe for a long time, 10,000 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And they had that belief here, and then it spread throughout the world. So this goes way back to the beginning of human history.
To the dawn of time.
Yes, wherever that may be.
Yeah, probably scared the first people to hear whistles because they're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, the first.
Has someone pursed their lips and blown hot air out?
How did our buddy Mr. Chimp learn how to whistle? And then it all went downhill from there because we evolved to be humans. And
oh, God.
yeah, you're welcome, Scott.
You would. You and your...
Higher beings. Yes. I don't have a good comeback for that one. Bean. Stop it.
At some point, I need to switch over to a different bank. This is exclusively the Bean Bank. And I think what we need to do is we need to develop like a Flappy Bird type game, but have it with you and beans. You know what I mean? And we release it on the App Store as like a nice way to just spend 20 minutes if you're at the DMV. We'll let you guys know if we ever get around to doing that.
We definitely will. When the Northern Lights are terrifying. This one comes from Tan Grant. And it starts off with, why is it bad to whistle at the Northern Lights in Native American culture? Starts off with, oh my God.
That's always a great start to a story.
So it was back in around 1996. I was living in high-level Alberta, Canada. Yeah, Canada. The Northern Lights were almost always out and so bright covering the whole sky. At first, I liked looking at them, thought they were great. Till one chilly autumn night, my boyfriend at the time and I decided we should walk to the store late at night.
It's like parking your car in certain neighborhoods in the Bronx. You just don't do it.
What a really long, and honestly, it was on brand. It was actually perfectly fitting, but what a really long soundbite to use. That's okay.
It worked for me.
I know.
I got the tone.
You know who that was, though, right?
No.
It was Nick Cage.
Oh, I was wondering who it
You
was.
just don't do it. That sounded nothing like. I need to work on my Nick Cage.
What's your favorite Nick Cage movie?
Oh, man. I don't know.
Valley Girl. It's the best ever.
There you go. Family Man was pretty good, too. I liked Family Man a lot.
Valley Girl is an underrated film. Whoever's listening knows that film. Let us know what you think.
What about Gone in 60 Seconds?
Valley Girl was just a time, man.
There's the great thing about Nick Cage. What a wide scope of work. You can pick the most ridiculous movie you've ever seen in your life when times were hard for him and he needed the cash, or like some actually well-produced films when he was probably living life lavishly.
This was, I think, his first film or his first major role. One of them.
Nice.
So it was an older, it was an 80s movie.
Yeah.
But it was at that time, it was a good movie at the time.
You just don't do it.
Never.
I can't get Nick Cage, man.
Okay, so they were going to the store late at night. Back to the store. On the way there, he was whistling away, even though I was getting angry at him about it and telling him not to whistle. He did the whole way to the store, thinking it was funny to get me so twisted up over it.
Mm-mm.
First sign, that shouldn't be your boyfriend.
Yeah. Or you shouldn't be just announcing stuff like that, especially around jokesters. You know they're going to do it the whole time.
Yeah, and if they do at the wrong time, that's a good sign.
That's when you get murdered.
Yeah.
That's death.
We went into the store and 5 minutes later headed back to my place. He wasn't whistling on the way home. We were almost done with our 4-block walk.
What was it? The 4-block walk?
4-block walk.
We're going on the 4-block walk.
4-block walk. And just 2 houses away from mine, when I heard something like a bunch of huge crackling sounds coming from above my head.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Oh, that's a good one.
Christian, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. All of these are great ones.
No, not the ones with my voice. When I heard something like a bunch of huge crackling sounds coming from above my head, so I looked up, not knowing or expecting what I'd see. It's really hard for me to explain what it looked like, as I've never seen anything like it before. If I had to describe it, all that comes to mind is it was as big as a plane and was swooping like a bird grabbing a field mouse. But it didn't resemble either a bird or a plane, because it was Superman. It was made up of the northern lights. And if it had wings, then at the tip of each one, a big spotlight so bright it lit us up.
That sounds very beautiful.
It kind of does. I know it doesn't make sense, but that's the only way I can describe it. When I looked up to see what the crackling noise was, it stopped crackling and started kind of screaming, but a bunch of screams all at different times and very high pitched. It swooped as low as the top of the streetlight, and it was very fast. I was so scared my legs and whole body stiffened right up. So did my boyfriend's. I couldn't run or raise my hands above my head to try to protect myself from what was above. But I did, however, finally manage to get a small scream out. And as soon as I did...
No, that's just the smallest scream.
Yeah. As soon as I did, it disappeared. Gone like it wasn't ever there, even there.
Vanished like a fart in the wind.
Some linger. Whatever it wasn't good. It felt so evil and scary. It wasn't there to deliver any message from the dead or get any message to take back for the dead. It was not a good luck omen. It was not good and evil dragons fighting in the sky. I don't know why anybody would just say that it was dragons in the sky.
The only options I can see are the good and evil dragons fighting in the sky, obviously, number one. What the hell is this person talking about?
Yeah, definitely. It's like
I believe a lot of weird shit, and let me tell you, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of House of Dragon type imagery right there.
I'm telling you, that man does not look stable.
I don't even know how you would know which dragon is good or evil.
I know. One has like green and one has red.
So basically, she's just saying it's scary and sinister. And it was not there for anything good at all. The next morning, she headed to the library and kind of looked up info. So the internet wasn't around yet. It was just starting to become a thing at the time. So we're in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. What a time.
Yeah. I found no info on northern lights other than scientific explanations as to what they are. My boyfriend, again at the time.
Because I dumped his ass after this.
Yes, for sure. Happened to be Cree, so a few days later, when with his grandma, I asked her about it. She shushed me and told me, if I talk about it or tell anyone, that means it will come back and I'll see it again. And the next time, I may not be so lucky. But of course, I tell everyone and anyone since that day. I've told over 25 people. I've never seen it again. But shortly after that, I moved, so I wasn't so far north anymore.
Isn't it weird that it's usually fucking grandmas that are passing this stuff down?
Yeah. And at that time, that grandma's closer to the age of the people I was telling you about at the beginning that used to get really upset about whistling.
Yeah.
And I could never figure it out when I was a kid. Like, they didn't even want you to whistle, because I think if you whistled in the day, you would just automatically do it at night, because whistlers just whistle.
Yeah. But why grandmas? Like, I feel like most of these stories, it's like the grandma that's like, well, don't you dare say that.
Because the grandpas don't share these stories and don't believe them, and they end up dying at a younger age.
Christian, I guess you could say that.
The grandmas from the old country, no shit. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That worked out so well. So well.
I picked up a reply to this story by a Lionel Paraboo.
Seems reliable.
Yeah. And it says, don't know about Native American culture, but in North Norway, whistling at lights meant that they might locate you and take you away to the heavens and you'd never come back.
Take you away to, oh God, that sounds terrible. Don't take me away to the heavens.
Yeah. But, sometimes heaven and the heavens are two different things. Bottom line, this has to do with the rather universal belief that the aurora represented the dead, especially dead warriors. You don't want to annoy those guys, do you?
No.
No, never mess with the warriors.
Yeah, they come out to play.
Yeah, it's like people have it, if you watch like the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings, the dead soldiers are really Vicious.
That is a word, and you said it.
Yeah. We're going to stick with this aurora whistling.
Okay.
And it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if you want to try it next time you see the Northern Lights out. I don't think I will. I mean, I'm a skeptic, but I don't tempt evil.
I wouldn't do it just because, like, I live and there's houses around me, and if I usually see them from like my backyard or something.
Yeah.
So if I were to just go outside and my neighbors would probably be like, "Will you shut the hell up?"
Yeah.
Even though my neighbors are obnoxiously loud.
And I asked Mandy about this too, if she'd ever heard anything about whistling, and she told me about the aurora. So I went and looked it up. So
did she tell you a story about when she whistled at the aurora?
No, she didn't.
Has she ever whistled at the aurora?
I didn't feel she had.
Do you trust your instincts on this, huh?
I trust the way she told the story. It's one of those, like, the adults give to their kids that stick with them forever. This one is from Morgan Gumke. When I was a young child, I was told the Inuit legend of the Northern Lights and why you shouldn't whistle for them. The lights are, according to the Inuit, the spirits of their dead. To amuse themselves, they play a game similar to soccer. However, they don't play with the ball, but with a walrus head. This sounds kind of kooky, huh?
I mean, a little bit. Why can't you just fetch a ball?
Maybe balls weren't invented.
You don't think balls were invented, Christian? What?
I mean, it's not the first culture I've heard of playing a game.
I think balls have
head.
always been around. I'm pretty sure.
In cultures, I don't know if it was Asia or Europe, there were some sports played
with a skull, right?
With a head, and then
yeah,
so similar.
That's weird.
People were different back then, man.
Man, that man does not look stable.
No.
And we're back. My computer decided to take a shit. It said, "Hey Scott, I'm out. You don't ever record this late. I'm tired."
I wonder, what if it's become sentient?
Oh God, it became me.
Yeah. All right. Whistling calls the lights in closer, but the closer they come, the greater your chances of being hit by the walrus tusk protruding from the head.
Wow.
If you whistle too much and the lights come too close, you can chase them away by rubbing your fingernails on each other, and the sound will warn them away. I don't understand that one, man.
That's in case you don't have a blackboard nearby.
Yeah. Probably back then they didn't.
Because that sound annoys everyone. So, of course, even a walrus head would be like, you know what? I'm out. I'm out.
It should be noted that the only native group in the north who fears the aurora is the Barrel Point group from Alaska. Everyone else, Gwich'in, the Inuit, the Inuk, believe that even if the spirits are dangerous, they aren't malevolent. I mean, I just threw that one in there just because it was so weird, and
yeah.
We'll never have another chance to just bring in a soccer game played with the walrus head. Yeah. With the tusk protruding.
Yeah, I can count on one finger the amount of times that we've had that in an episode so far.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's this one.
It's from the internet.
Oh, God.
I mean, it came from a legitimate source, but it's such a weird story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
But see, now we're part of it. You're listening to this from the internet. Sorry, folks. Do you believe us? Are we believable?
In this case, it doesn't matter because that's just a funny and grotesque game to imagine.
Ah, yes. Shall we go outside for a game of walrus head?
Could you imagine the really talented guys that could just spin the head around its leg because it's using the tusk?
Yeah.
Now you can.
Yeah, I can.
The Pastor's Son. This one is from Xander 101. Back in 1998-ish, my family and I were living in New Mexico near the Four Corners area in an extremely small town. At the time, we were living in a house out in the country, or rather the bush and desert. Now, we did have neighbors, but there weren't a lot of people that lived out there. Little backstory, my dad is a preacher. Even back then, we had been in this town for maybe a year or so. The church my dad pastored at was Pentecostal church, not the uber Pentecostal, but still very evangelical, but that's not the scary part. I don't know what uber Pentecostal is, but you drive your church around.
Or German Pentecostal.
Could be.
Shout out to our German listeners.
Yes.
Who are also Pentecostal Christians. Or is that's Christianity, right? Pentecost? Pentecost.
Yeah, I don't know how religious Germany is, though.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Probably not uber religious, right, Christian?
I would say no.
Yeah. The rim shot's too far away for me to scroll to, but
yeah, I understand.
Believe it in your heart.
From the moment we moved to New Mexico from Texas, even the church people were very weary and fearful of skinwalkers.
Weird.
I'd never heard of skinwalkers before I moved there, And one of the church members, the husband of my mom's good friend, told a story of when he was driving his work truck on a lone highway late at night, that an extremely pale man, completely hairless, was running alongside his truck.
That not the visual you want.
No. And according to him, he was driving 80 miles per hour.
That sounds like a story I've heard.
Yeah.
Not that exact one, but very similar to
I've heard a couple like that.
Those are creepy.
And Skinwalker came in a lot when I was researching this. Most of the stories didn't make it because they're more Skinwalker than whistling.
Gotcha.
But I've heard about them running that fast multiple times recently.
Oh, just going to brag about it, huh, Christian?
Yeah.
I did. Brag about all the stories you read, huh?
Yeah, I read a lot of stories. As a believer in the paranormal, I was still very skeptical of his story, mainly because I didn't witness it myself. But it was cool and interesting to hear nonetheless. Started talking like Mike Tyson.
Anyway, nonetheless.
Others in the church talked about their stories. Nothing as interesting as his. Okay, so back to the incident. It was on a Saturday night. I remember that because we had church the next day. It was around 10 or 11 p.m. I was in my bedroom, which was the furthest bedroom in our house, and no joke, I was watching a UFO documentary.
Classic.
Yeah, he was really into UFOs back then. And this is when a knock came at my bedroom door. I opened it to find my brother and his best friend from church. We'll call him Barry, instead of just saying, his name is Barry, and who cares?
Well, no one will believe his name is Barry. I've met one Barry my entire life. You realize that? One.
I have a friend named Barry White. Not that Barry White.
Well, I was going to say, no, you don't.
This is the white Barry White.
Oh.
You might have seen his commercials back in the day in the Antelope Valley. He would do commercials for Metro Floors, and he'd play Metro Man.
That does not sound something to be proud of, Christian.
I mean, he did good in his business. And you know small town commercials. That was back when the Antelope Valley had small town commercials still.
He's just a city boy.
Yeah. The sad thing was when me and my friends we went to a Jethawks game, which is a minor league baseball team.
I remember.
In the Antelope Valley. I'm talking to the listeners.
Oh, the listeners.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, yeah, Christian, I know who the Jethawks are. Okay.
Yeah. And
eagle.
We walk into the men's restroom and Barry's over there at the urinal peeing, and we're all like, Metro Man. Everybody in the whole place looked at him while he was peeing because everybody saw his commercials. It's like the mattress guy here.
Oh, great.
Those kind of commercials.
So a real staple in the community.
Yeah. He was a good guy. And he played hockey.
Does he listen to this show?
I don't know. I'll have to reach out to him. But he played hockey with me.
Nice.
And he's from Canada.
Hey?
Yeah.
So he's used to not ever winning a Stanley Cup is what you're saying.
Back then, I think it was a little bit closer to the last, because it was closer.
It couldn't have been that much closer. It's 76, my guy. Or 67?
93.
That's not the last time the
Montreal Canadiens. And who did they beat?
Oh, yeah, the Kings, right.
Yeah.
93 is
you
still
blocked
kind
it
of...
out,
I was thinking Maple Leafs. That was 76, right? Or 67?
67.
Yeah, well, I blocked it out because I was 3 years old. But also, I forgot it was a Canadian team.
Yeah. This guy would drop the gloves in a second. It was funny. Anyway.
And it was Barry Manilow?
Barry White.
Oh.
I don't know if he could sing. So we're back to his brother's best friend, Barry. We got off a little bit on that. My brother, as usual, had his shirt off.
Hot.
Yeah.
What a look.
I guess that was the 90s look. This is an important detail. Later. Annoyed, I asked what they wanted. My brother and Barry had decided to sleep in the enclosed patio in the backyard and told me that they'd seen what looked like a white head walk by the windows that faced the backyard. Of course, I didn't believe them and thought that they were probably messing with me and making fun of me for being weird and believing in paranormal, aliens, UFOs. So you've gone through that with people, right?
No, I honestly don't even pay attention. If people say that ghosts aren't real, I'm like, you are outside your fucking mind, dude.
He does every time I say it.
Yeah, it's the evidence is so far out there for me that anyone that says they're not, I'm like, you're just being ignorant, man. You're being ignorant.
My grandson's going to be saying, you're outside your fucking mind, Grandpa.
I know, yeah. That's my boy Slugger. Tell him you saw ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Right, champ.
Little did you know, in his fancy books, he always gives the banshee a kiss.
Yeah.
She is kind of cute, though.
I hear all about that. And you would say some shit like that. So.
Okay, since his brother doesn't believe in any of that crap, his younger brother, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's usually the other way around.
Yeah. So I grabbed a flashlight and headed to the back patio, my brother and Barry close behind me, but both pretty freaked out. I started theorizing that they probably saw an animal or something mundane. The patio wasn't big, but it was about half the length of our house. Their sleeping bags were on the floor, a few boxes on the walls. We'll skip all that stuff. We don't need the description of the whole place. It was a patio.
Yeah, I think we all know.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of in my mind's eye picturing this patio. I'm like, half the length. That's a pretty big patio, friend. I don't know.
He's out in the desert, New Mexico.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Got to have some place to keep the snakes and scorpions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, spiders.
Plenty of those.
Yeah. So I walked to the end to the door that led outside into the backyard onto a wooden porch. It was about a foot or two off the ground. The backyard was really small because you had a fucking huge patio.
Yeah. You didn't realize how small the backyard or why the backyard was so small.
Yeah. Okay. With the wooden fence adjoining two different neighbors, one across from the house and the other to the north. You know your directions, people. I saw nothing out of the ordinary, but I did hear the sound of dead leaves crackling somewhere toward the front yard.
Uh-oh, crackling again.
Yep. I figured it was one of our neighbors' chickens, and wanting to prove to my brother and Barry how they wasted my time, I headed to the gate that led to the front yard. Now, the front yard is huge and spacious. He capitalized it, so sorry, not my words, is.
Huge desert front yards, huh?
Yeah, and spacious with 9 apple trees and a few other trees, which is kind of nice in the desert, I guess. The creepiest being a large gnarled oak tree in the corner near the road. That's where they hang people.
Sure.
Shining my light around, I saw nothing until I turned the flashlight toward the back area of the front yard, up against one of the wooden fences. It was so quick I wasn't sure I saw it, but it was a brief moment of something white, like pale white, almost glowing. It looked like it went behind one of the trees. My brother and Barry close behind me, and curiosity having gotten the better of me, I walked near the tree slowly. Before I could even get real close, I heard and felt a whoosh fly toward me, and by me so quick that if my brother hadn't screamed, I would have thought it was my imagination. I turned around quickly, and my brother was holding onto his chest, and before I could ask what's wrong, he ran screaming and crying into the house. And then I heard something running on our driveway, and I, wanting to find out what scared my brother, ran after it with Barry close behind me. When I reached the end of the driveway onto the edge of the road, I shone my flashlight in the direction. I could hear bare feet running in the distance. I saw nothing but the road and a few houses down the way near the desert hills. Now, I can't explain why I did this, because I don't know. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself it was a skinwalker, but I whistled. I remember Barry telling me not to do that again, but the same tune I whistled came back at me from the distance. I became very intrigued. Now, how much was this guy really into UFOs and the paranormal if he's going to be whistling at something like this? He must not have been as into it as he thought.
It could be, maybe he's not super religious. Because, I mean, he talked about Pentecostal and shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe he's not super religious.
Still, though.
Because it'd be weird. Otherwise, like, you'd be more worried about something. Like me, I don't play Ouija boards because of my religion. I don't do, like, certain things because of my religion. So, if, like, I don't know, if he was, like, ballsy and was like, I believe this stuff, I'm going to try some of these legends out and see if...
But then again, it is the 90s, and you said you didn't know about this whole whistling thing.
No idea.
So maybe he didn't either, but it still seemed... To me, I felt like I've always heard the whistling thing.
Yeah. Well... different strokes, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So he was very intrigued. So I whistled again, a different tune. The same tune whistled back at me, but closer. I whistled for a third time, another tune, but no whistle came back. Instead, a voice, just a few yards away, said, "Hey kid, come here." With that, Barry and I booked it in the house. As soon as we entered, my mother is frantic and asking us what happened, and we tell her, but what had her frantic was my brother was injured. When I saw my brother sitting on the couch shaking, he had 3 long scratches across his chest. They weren't deep or anything, and they barely bled, but they were prominent enough.
He's injured.
Yes.
Look at him.
And I guess this guy shared this story on George Norrie back 15 years ago.
Coast?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, again, in Skinwalker territory, don't talk about them. You know, what is that saying from Fight Club?
First rule of Fight Club.
Don't talk about it, right?
Yeah. So you're kind of breaking it right now.
Yeah. Same with Skinwalkers. We don't live in Skinwalker territory, so I think we're okay.
You don't know that.
I hope that.
You hope that, sure.
I mean, we've talked about them before.
Yeah, and I don't remember any coming after me.
No, maybe the neighbors.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Dwarves of Ghana from Perception is Dynamic. In BMT, I don't know what that is. In BMT, we had a guy from Ghana Ghana, in BMT, we
Guano.
Yeah.
I'm just reminded of Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We had a guy from Ghana who would get super pissed about us whistling at night. Eventually, we asked why it bothered him so much, and he said that in his country, it is believed that whistling at night called forest dwarves, called the Moesha, who have backwards feet. Yes, I know. Look it up.
Well, good news is they can't run at you fast enough. I imagine they'll probably be tripping over themselves.
I don't know, man.
Try running backwards right now.
Who would catch you and psychologically manipulate you, turning you insane.
Well, they won't have to go far for that one.
No. I mean, once something starts walking like that with backwards legs, it's pretty much insane time anyway.
They're like, oh, well, it seems I've lost my marbles. That man does not look stable.
Yeah. So we have a couple, now we're back to a couple shorter stories. So that's
great news.
Yes.
Was that the end of it?
Yep. That was the end of it.
Oh.
So now we're in a part of Africa with the whistling.
Yeah. Africa.
I sure hope that's where Ghana's.
Ghana? Yeah. I believe this to be true, Christian.
Scott, look that up.
Yep. Just looked it up. It's very accurate.
This is another short one from Odd Park 7138. Heard a whistle at night, and I whistled back. Tonight, my friend and I was sitting on the couch talking. We heard a whistle right at the window. We were sitting near, so we looked out the window, and it was heavily raining, no one around. I whistled back to demonstrate to my friend, but also my back door was wide open.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I'm closing my chocolate factory forever. I'm sorry.
Perfect. Didn't think we were going to get a back door mention.
No, but it was wide open.
Whoa.
I know whistling at night is bad, but I didn't think also did it matter my door was open. We heard whistling 2 more times. Now what can we do? And does anyone know what this actually means? And that Redditor was never heard from again. But there were some funny replies to that one.
Something about back door and chocolate factory?
No.
Damn.
Because the people who whistle back usually go missing. And then well, that's terrifying. So good to know.
So good. Yeah, like they jot this down.
Yeah. A little late now. You got the demons after you.
It's a little demonic.
Here's another whistler. I was taking a night walk once and I heard a whistle. I whistled back. The next night, I heard what sounded like an old woman speaking Latin outside my window. She was almost hissing it, and it sounded very demonic. That was a little demonic. Just a little. They're demons.
That's weird. Now I'm going to be leery if I'm ever whistling at night.
I'm just trying to help you, man.
I know. First of all, I'm not the type of dumbass that's going to be strolling down the trails at midnight. Not going to catch me. No, sirree, Bob. But
I'm just looking out for my grandson. I don't need any monsters.
That's right. Yeah. In a Christian world.
But I did not name this one.
We could just call it
Greater Beings. No.
Okay. How do you feel about
a supreme being? I am.
Okay. How about
an ancient being? Can we have another?
Yeah.
Black men. That's how you say it in Swahili.
Yeah, I'm sure. There is actually, I think there's one more.
Higher beings.
And then just if you want to go a la mode.
Being.
Wow. One day we're going to have a really talented producer listening to us. And he's going to be like, I'm going to make a song out of all of these fun sound bites. And I can't wait. And it's going to be very good. And they're going to send it to us and be like, I gift to you the Bean song. And I'm going to say, you know what? You're hired.
I'm not okay with this. My name is Mary, and I would like to share a true paranormal event I had experienced about 2 or 3 years ago in the beautiful country, New Zealand.
No.
I used to have a habit of whistling a lot. My mom would always tell me that I shouldn't whistle so much, especially at nighttime, because it calls for spirits. It kind of creeped me out at first, but then I thought it was probably just some superstitious, and Mom was just trying to scare me. So I still whistled, just not as much. My cousin Kara came from up north and stayed at my place, up north of New Zealand. Stayed at my place with my mom, dad, younger brother, and 2 younger sisters. Kara and I stayed up 1 whole day straight. We were competing to see who could stay up the longest. Have you ever done that when you were a kid? I did.
I feel like probably one of those slumber parties or something like that. I'm going to beat you. And then, but the winner is actually the loser because everyone else is out.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there like a jackass, haha, I'm still awake.
Well, the funny thing is the winner usually, okay, I guess I'll go to sleep. Nobody to talk to anymore. So they go to sleep within minutes of the last person.
Yeah.
Anyway, we wanted to try to stay up for 2 days.
Okay.
And we had no, you know what I was going to say.
We had no
drugs.
Oh.
No, they didn't put that in there. I added that.
Oh, yeah, you would. You would add something about drugs, wouldn't you?
Yeah. We tried to stay up for 2 days, and it was going on to nighttime. Everyone went to bed besides me and Kara, and we just played games on the computer. I began whistling and didn't stop. I whistled for a pretty long time while I was sitting on the seat next to Kara by the computer. I felt this cold, really cold air on the side of my arm. I then stopped whistling and thought of what my mom said. I was kind of scared, but I managed to take my mind off of it and pulled my sleeping bag up to cover my arm.
And continued whistling defiantly.
No, she got scared and said she stopped.
Oh.
But it might have been too late.
My thing is if someone's sitting next to me and I'm like playing games or something like that and they're just whistling nonstop, I tell them to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just be like, this is fine.
Kara was really nice.
Sounds like it.
Or really into the game and didn't focus.
Or deaf. We haven't even considered that as an option.
You know, that does happen in this world.
There is a third option.
Kara and I were too tired and couldn't stay up any longer. So we walked to my room and she slept on the mattress on the floor and I slept on the bunk bed at the bottom. I couldn't get to sleep and my cousin Kara was asleep. I then got a really bad feeling and started thinking about what my mom said and began to wonder if I called a spirit. And if I did, was it good or bad? I got pretty sweaty, good sign, and hot, so it's obviously going to be a bad one.
Diarrhea.
Oh my gosh.
When you said I got a bad feeling, the first thing that popped in my mind is, man, I wish I had that soundbite.
That commercial.
Diarrhea. Yeah, people just singing diarrhea while they dance about.
Yeah.
Like, weird.
Doing a little like the tummocks and the bum and grabbing each spot.
Yeah.
So now that she was pretty sweaty and hot, it made it harder to sleep. But I didn't want to open my eyes because I was afraid of someone or something would be there in the room. I've been there before. I spent my whole childhood keeping my eyes closed.
Yeah, that's the move, man. Blankets and keeping your eyes closed.
Doesn't exist. All of a sudden, I heard doors slamming in the passageway, shutting and closing, and it scared me a lot. My bed was close to the passageway, and the bedroom door was open. So I peeped, and I saw no doors slamming and opening. I was so scared, I started sweating again. My heart was beating so fast, and I was praying that it would stop and go away. I couldn't even think or move, and then I was just so scared, I fell asleep. I then woke up in the afternoon. I'd had the worst sleep ever, but I was glad that everyone was up and it was daytime. As I got out of the bed, I turned my head sideways, and my neck hurt like hell. I looked in the mirror and asked my younger sister if anything was there, and there were 3 scratches, like claws on my neck.
Demons.
Exactly. It looked like a cat had scratched me. And Kara had a really bad, worse than mine scratch on her belly. Only one, though. Anyway, I told my mom about it, and she nodded her head in disappointment, saying, that was a little demonic. She did say that, too, but after she said it was a little demonic, she said, I told you that's why you don't whistle at night. You could have called a bad spirit. I don't think that the spirit will hurt you anymore. If it doesn't, then it was probably just teaching you a lesson to listen next time.
It's teaching you to listen to your mother. The spirit came from the other realm and was like, oh, this little bitch is whistling in this room again.
This is why we have all these stories, because the kids annoyed the mother and the father. Then I apologized to her and I said out loud in front of her, sorry, ghost, or whatever you are for whistling. I won't ever do it again. And I was never bothered. So now we got allegedly injuries on the last couple of the stories.
The 3 scratches. That's a little demonic.
You would think so. Or they just accidentally scratched themselves in the middle of having a bad dream because they were sleep deprived. And you know what happens when you're sleep deprived? Demons can get in easier.
Yeah, I do understand that. It's a lot easier to hallucinate if you're running on 0 sleep, especially after a couple days moving on from that. It's going to be a little demonic.
Yes. This one's kind of funny. It's really short.
I'll be the judge of that.
No whistling at night. Oh, this person's in Asia. So it's like, no whistling at night, the snakes will come out and attack. So I decided to sing Patience by Guns N' Roses one night at karaoke and found this out. I guess all the people were pissed that were there.
Is there a whistle in Patience?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't listen to Guns N' Roses, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah, it's there's a long whistle for Axl Rose when they actually use real whistles, I guess. I don't know. I don't know anything about Axl Rose.
Well, that's too bad. That's what people come to this podcast for, Christian.
Other than he jumps into the crowd and punches people.
Yeah.
My friend Brian witnessed that.
He got punched?
No, he was doing security. His high school team got hired by the Forum in LA to do security for the Guns N' Roses concert, and he said Axl Rose was crazy.
I'm telling you, that man does not look stable.
This is true. You ever, like certain horror movies, you always see a janitor whistling at night?
Yeah.
What happens to that janitor?
Usually he gets picked up by American Idol, if I remember correctly.
No, he dies. Scott, he dies.
Oh.
All the time he dies. The janitor always dies. You know why? Because they don't matter to the people that make the movies. They matter to us, so.
Yeah, to us, they are.
Greater beings. This is another one. This one's coming from a Slavic grandmother, so we kind of know where it's going to go. Oh, and this is Absinthe a Go-Go. The in-house whistling was a big thing for my Slavic grandmother. She called it whistling your money away. Apparently in Eastern Europe, they believe it causes poverty or invited spirits attached to poverty into your life. My Russian neighbor has chastised me for whistling outside, too. I don't know the cause. She only said that we shouldn't whistle at all. It's bad. And not for lack of articulating. She speaks at least 4 languages fluently, but felt very strongly over it. And in another little tidbit from Argentina, there's something called a pombero, and it's kind of like an elf who likes to mess with you or can be protective of your family and yourself. Never heard of the pombero, but that's kind of a cool name.
Yeah.
There's also stories of miners, like
Canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, back in the day about whistling. And part of the reason it became such a thing for them is if they heard whistling, there was a good chance there was going to be an explosion because something was leaking and it was sometimes flammable.
And that's not good. That's not good, folks.
Right.
That's not what you want.
So do you have any feelings toward this whistling at night thing?
I whistle a lot when I'm alone, but
will you now?
Never at night. So I'm pretty okay with it.
I'd be curious to, I don't know, your dad's going to be here. Maybe ask him
if he whistles at night
or if he's heard this, you know, because I don't know if it's,
it doesn't feel super well known. Like obviously he never told me not to whistle at night. Like my mom never did either, but probably for different reasons.
It just caught my attention because it was something I remembered from being a kid. And then, as I'm reading through different things, looking for stuff for the podcast, I come across all these old tales about whistling.
Yeah.
And to me, there's got to be something there. And it could be, we're a paranormal podcast. It could, of course, be something paranormal, ghosts, demons. What is it? Not black men. No. Well, maybe demons, but yeah, it's the skeptical part of me thinks that there is something behind this, and it could be more predator. Like, who knows what kind of predators were chasing humans around 10,000 years ago and more.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that at night you wouldn't want to draw attention to yourself. Like you would want to move silently.
Right.
So I could see it from a couple different ways for sure.
And night was a lot different before we had electricity and flashlights and stuff like that.
Yeah, you could actually see the sky.
Yeah.
The beautiful Mother Earth.
Right. But while you're looking at the sky whistling, maybe a saber-tooth something was coming up behind you, or a cave bear or a demon.
Yeah.
But I still think it's very fascinating how it's been spread throughout the world. And these tales are before Europeans and some of these people were traveling around.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe there's something to it, I mean, it's a little out there. It's a little strange to think about, but if it's that far-reaching, who knows?
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if any of our listeners have heard or have been told not to whistle at night. Because when you start looking into it a little bit, a lot more people than you realize have been told this kind of stuff and maybe just forgotten.
True. Maybe.
Until social media comes out and you see it on TikTok or something.
Yeah, people are dancing to it. Don't whistle at night.
Yeah. I even looked on TikTok a little bit to find some stories, but they weren't really the type of stories that fit our format.
They're all just doing like eat glue challenge or some shit.
Most of the time it was 2 guys. It's the same guy talking to each other, one with a hat, one without a hat. And they're talking about,
Are you talking about us?
No, I mean.
I'm usually wearing a hat.
No, like when a guy or a person they're the only person there, but they do 2 characters on their video.
Oh, yeah. Those are super fun, aren't they?
Some of them are good, but
most of them suck.
This one wasn't very good.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about TikTok. Is that the close of it?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, actually, that's funny that this was an episode. Because when you mentioned it, I was like, is there really that much lore on it? But hey, it turns out there is.
I left a lot out.
Yeah. So as per usual, Christian just brought half of his A game. No, I'm just kidding. It's peculiar. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I'll say that because the only real whistling story I'm familiar with, there's one on like Don't Sleep or something like that. And then there's the popular one of the guy that we covered in Summer Break. And that was it.
Yeah.
So hearing this is actually pretty fascinating.
Yeah. When I started looking, I was like, thought it was going to be a dud because I didn't find anything but the Whistler story we'd already talked about.
Yeah.
But then I kept messing with it a little bit, and then I started finding stuff, and that led to more stuff, and then a bunch of articles about the different beliefs in different countries related to this.
Yeah.
And scientists are going to have one belief, and maybe historians, but it comes from such an old time period that Maybe back when humans were all in one place, something happened there and it just spread or kept happening. The demons and ghosts and the paranormal kept showing up. If you want to go that way.
I do want to go that way. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And maybe that's what we closed out on, is we want to go that way. It was
an ancient being.
And that's all there is to it.
It always is.
Again, if you're new to the show, please take a second to rate and review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Actually, wherever you're listening is perfectly fine. We are trying to grow, and that is really, I don't think you guys understand just how much that helps us. So if you're appreciative of what we do, if you like the episodes we put out, and if you like all the fun stuff we get into, you have a hunky-dory time. I don't know what I'm trying to say. If you have a good time and you want to help us out, do that. Or hop on the website, thefreakydeaky.com, buy some merch. We got some of the absolute dopest designs for the weirdest folks in the world, which is you guys, along with us. And that's fine. Follow us on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like and subscribe to the channel. We got some fun stuff in the works for you. And at TFD Paranormal on TikTok. In the meantime, we will see you right back here on the Frinky Dinky.